Um, hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you understand these words? I'm thinking about... Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
What's up, guys? Yeah. I'm thinking about getting this countdown timer. A countdown. I got a countdown timer. Because I noticed that, in the replays, it doesn't save the chat that happens before the show. So, that's a little unfortunate. So let's do this version for a little while. Got a little countdown. Maybe play some weird music for you guys. If you don't like weird music, you can definitely just mute it. But I want you guys to talk with each other and hang out, because that's half of this show. Creating a hangout spot for people that think stuff that is, well, words I'm not supposed to say. So I guess we'll see you in 4 minutes. Thanks for coming to the stream.
What is up, people? Yeah, my voice is auto-tuned. You're not supposed to understand the words in the intro. It's just a musical intro. Come on, guys! Fake truth! Fake truth! That's the Fake Truth Show. That's what we're talking about on the show. Truth that is fake. Maybe fake that is true. Either way, it's good to have you. I'm glad you are watching my stream. Thank you for coming.
All right, virtual reality.
All right, what is happening, guys? It is very good to be here. Very good to be alive, existing, having conscious thought, being able to react to reality, at least as best as I know how. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying it. I woke up this morning and my sub count was past 1,000, and it's just it's a good feeling to have put some time in there, and have this actually be getting a little traction, especially in this age of utter algorithm darkness, impossibility there. So obviously big shout out to Marf and the whole Fugel fam, and definitely big shout out to the Snafu Snaps, doing some interviews and sending some people, from his channel my way, and just in general, I appreciate it, guys, and it is good to have you. So enough of that. Let's get into the clouds, because, geez, man. There were actual clouds today. There's been so many days. If you're a regular watcher, there's been many days of just this clear blue, and this it's a very telling time lapse, right? I guess at least down here on the Earth planet, the weather was no wildly different from the other days where we were not having condensation. But who am I? I'm not a scientist. It must have just been really, really cold up there, causing a lot of humidity, because we're seeing these trails all day, right? And you see this color, and you see how quickly it dissipates too in the time lapse. So I'm really loving the time lapse. Really loving the time lapse. Yeah, it's good also for me to not be on at 4 a.m. because my brain is working just marginally quicker, which I guess is helpful when you're doing a live show. I super appreciate Marf and getting me in here, so I never want to step on his toes. But what I did tonight was start at 12:33 on the dot, which for you numerology fans out there, the 12 would reduce to another 3, so we got a 33 there, and even in international time that would be a 0033. So 33 is all around. I think that may be my start time of choice. 33. So yeah, what's up, Illogical Kitty? What's up, Scott Rogers? Welcome, SoCal. It is good to see you guys. So right, and now we're just a couple hours later, and you can see this milkiness that is just flowing through the sky. And as we get later in the day, right, there was that drastic color change that I'm still trying to get to the bottom of. Right, we had this blue, and there's a drastic color change right there. And again, it may just be the GoPro auto exposure reacting to the changing light source, but wait for it. It goes kind of gray there, right? It may just be the clouds. but we see a different color here, basically. And I just thought, right, interesting to have some actual clouds documented, because this game isn't as fun with the time lapse, because you get to see what happened during the day. So we'll come back to that. But here's just a couple images of the day from other locations. Right, again, I guess this is all conjecture, theory. It probably is just water vapor and chill stuff like that. I know I had just an absurd migraine today. My head was exploding for a little while, and as with all this modern day stuff, easily attributable to the stress of my life, the things that are going on in my actual daily life. Enough reasons for me to have an actual migraine, but interesting enough to have it sync up with many days of clarity, and then this day of obvious non-clarity. The language game we're playing around here. So I hope you see what I'm saying and talking about. I love clouds. I just love them. This I thought was an interesting picture because of the angle that it's making, right? And I have heard from some sources that these may not even be actual large flying vessels the way we're used to them, that they may be actually closer to the ground, hologram type looking things, or even drones that are made to look like aeroplanes, because they could be, right? We don't really understand foreshortening and distance and all that. So you could have a drone that looks the right size, that is sending out these trails, and just have it at the right altitude to sort of fool our eyes. But right, a very obvious curve here. Make of it what you will. But that's sort of that's how we go. That's how we go these days, back and forth. It clears out, and then it comes back in. And right, I don't know if you can track this stuff on the ground. There's obviously a lot of pollen everywhere. I also miss old clouds. A logical kitty. This is all stuff that I used to do as a kid. I definitely watched TV. I definitely played video games. Definitely looked up in the sky. I guess not so much news reading when I was a kid, but everything's different now. I guess everything's different now. And it's great to get past that sort of difficult 1,000 mark. And I'm not sure if it's just going to take a minute for it to kick in, or whether I have gotten too many copyright issues, because I don't have any strikes. No strikes on this channel yet, but right, every time I do show some mainline stuff and show too many seconds, they do give me a thing. So right, they may have marked my account as at risk for streaming copyrighted content, which I can agree with that. That's what I do. So but looking forward to live streaming from the phone eventually, because that would be nice to give you a live update in the moment. As far as live updates go, the light, it never stops, right? This light is always, it's the zombie light. It's burning forever. I really got to get some titles in here. Wait, go back. We'll get into the straws in a second. Come on. We'll get into the straws in a second. The light, it's I don't know. It must have something to do with these endlessly changing energy levels and everything that we're talking about here. And I'm not really sure. All I can do is document stuff, right? That's the most truth that we seem to be able to get to these days, is what did you observe, what did you see, and what did it mean to you? Because the actual nature of reality, if there has to be a real explanation for why this light will not turn off. It has dead batteries and it will not turn off. It just won't. Zombie light. I'll save those titles. if you are not living in Los Angeles, then you may not be aware of certain things, but this whole city and the state in general is sort of ground zero for new ideas about social issues, social control, social things. So and right, these waves come through wave by wave. It used to be, right, we got rid of those plastic bags. That's not something that you're allowed to do. Oh, what's up, Badger Report? Good to see you, dude. No more plastic bags, right? You got to pay for your bags. You got to pay for X and X, and it's less about the actual pollution than the mental effect that it's having on you, right? And so now the latest war that is going down in LA is the war on straws. Straws will be given upon request. You better request that straw, and when you request it, you better feel goddamn guilty. Oh, what's up, Killer Kyle? I made it over. You better feel guilty about taking that straw. It's still going to be free, but there's almost nothing worse for the environment. It's on the level of like driving 20 F-150s like all day with some sort of elaborate like rope tied to all the steering wheels. I don't know why you would do that, but just using a straw in general is possibly, one of the worst offenses. I am trying to track how quickly things are changing, how quickly social norms are changing, because if we don't take a step back and look at things, and try to do it logically, then that's how we lose ourselves, basically. You turn around and you don't recognize the thoughts you're having or the ideas that you're having anymore, and you'll remember sort of a vague, older version of yourself and what that was like, but it will feel very distant. And so, and this is really working. You go to McDonald's, you kind of need a straw if you're driving. You just like spill that soda all over yourself. So you got to request the straw, and you got to feel bad about it. You got to say, sorry, I do enjoy the environment and nature and stuff, but I really want that straw. But you see how it's not about the straw. It's about the idea, the idea of you foregoing a comfort, so we can all get through this together. I don't need the audio for this. But the bees are here. There's bees. There's nature happening. This isn't the most expertly filmed video. I meant to stabilize it. But the bees are here. It's spring. They're pollinating things. I like to remind everybody that as dark and scary as it all is, there is beauty out there. Nature is thriving, and it will get through whatever we put it through. Be it plastic straws or some sort of nuclear holocaust. That I honestly think that human civilization has gone through stuff like that already, and sort of scorched earth this whole planet, and it's gonna be able to handle a couple extra straws here and there, is my feeling about the subject. But just to confirm, guys, bees are out there. Bees exist. Bees are doing all right. At least by my research here. So still working on the transitions, right? I gotta get some sort of, now we're going to the news, and then there's got to be like some title thing jumping up there. Maybe I'm gonna work on that in my copious spare time. So important, I guess, to keep track of and have things in a frame of reference. I kind of like MIT Technology Review. They obviously are MIT and have a very sort of strong view about that. But they still do very interesting articles, and I think regardless, it's a good way to get into the mindset, right? And this is the same with the straws, the same with a lot of this stuff. Conservation is key, and we have to start becoming more aware of the waste and the damage that we're doing to the biosphere. And while that all may be real and factual, that the argument has been grossly oversimplified and put all on this carbon dioxide thing, right? And that is honestly not it's just a very gross oversimplification of the science. Yes, that is part of it. But that's just right. Even for a very simple system to say that there's only one factor that can turn up and down the temperature like a thermostat, that there's only one factor that affects that, you would be sort of crazy to think that even in a, like a small situation, right? Think of some sort of social situation or something, and to think that only one thing in that situation matters, right? That the one person is mad. Forget that there's like, a large fire going on in the kitchen. Like, just ignore that element of it. You should focus on this girl that's being mean, right? And that's the core issue of what's going on in this room, in this hypothetical party. I should have started better with this analogy, but I think you know what I'm saying. It's part of the story, but it honestly is a very tiny fraction. But it is something to think about, that right, we think of a lot of computer stuff as just computering and going on in the digital blogosphere, but thinking of all the numbers and the data that they need to crunch, they're ingesting all of our pictures and info and the whole kit and caboodle, but then all of that data needs to be crunched and processed in a certain way, and all of that is going to take some heavy processing power, major server farms, and those servers need energy, and that energy comes from someplace. So I guess feel bad about this too. Like, even us just being here on the internet, like, we should feel bad for, I guess, Google. Sorry, you guys have to run all those servers. This 5G thing really is turning into sort of the another quintessential wedge issue of our times. It seems to be going deep out into the world and attempting to divide and separate us on many different levels, right? Whether you understand and have a basic concept of it, that's gonna split you off from a large group of people. If you have a fear of this technology and the power that it can have, then that's going to split you off from another large group of people. And I've just been tracking this a lot recently, this trend of 5G being sort of a political football that is being kicked around, and because it honestly is a very big deal who secures the major infrastructure rollout. If it does go to a Chinese company, or if it does go to some other company, and whoever does that build out initially really honestly is going to have an insane amount of power over all things, just because of how hardcore 5G is going to be. But Huawei will build 5G network for Russia's biggest carrier, right? I thought we were supposed to not like these guys. Either of these guys, we're supposed to not like them, but I guess we don't like this guy. We like him less because Orange Man bad and on that whole story. Honestly, much more terrified of this guy because of the just obscene power that they're wielding these days. They already bought the whole farm, and I guess we're still watching Netflix without really actually noticing, but that already happened, guys. Because America only represents a portion of the world. It's being used as some sort of, right, whoever manages to get this network up first is gonna have all the marbles. And I'm very much looking forward to Krypton coming back, because that first season was running before I was doing this, and they have a whole giant thing about how on Krypton, what ruined Krypton and made Superman have to run away from that whole story was them deploying some large wireless network that it's, you can't make this stuff up. The story in Krypton is that this wireless network is going to brainwash everybody and make them into zombies, and not unthinking sort of following. It's some of this stuff is honestly too close to home. It's like, can you guys put that nail a little further away? Wedge issues, right? It's honestly, I think the easiest thing to do these days is to rub it in people's face, like, oh, are you emotional about this subject? Well, I mean, like, I see where you're coming from. This is a very charged emotional issue. But honestly, take a step back and think about how much mental energy it has consumed of yours this entire day, right? You may have woken up and got a push notification about some inflammatory news story, possibly something regarding this, and you know, maybe you're being played, right? Maybe there's a chance that, as with all of these stories, that the story that is going on in the border is much, much more complicated than that, right? And we're pointing at the girlfriend yelling while there is a huge fire going on in the background. I see a lot of stuff here hinting at this, but never really sort of specifically putting it in there, right? I've seen stories about, oh, well, there was a busload of kids and they just wanted to get across the border, but they got stuck, and then it was really hot in the bus, and some of them were thirsty, and it was tough. But right, generally, do not flee with your family, and a bus full of kids. It's super obvious, and when they put that kind of stuff out there, it's obvious that this is a major issue, and has been ever since there were borders. But again, just becoming an emotional wedge issue. It's we're seeing a lot of this stuff with tariffs being launched, and it's the same with Huawei and that whole thing. That let's cut into their bottom lines because of their ideological problems, right? I need to censor you. I need to hurt you because of what you thought and what you said. That's our reality. And just, for no real reason, I like to track stories that are going around everywhere, that are, oh, yeah, what's up, Snafu? You are the man. Can I just say Snafu Snaps is a goddamn hero. This guy is doing all this boot groundwork in the background that I think a lot of people aren't really seeing, and he's making this whole thing a reality, pulling off some true community building, it's weird in this ultra alienating time. And that's yeah, we're gonna get into that in Black Mirror too. But this story was all over the place. CNN, Reuters, nonstop. Why should this matter? Why do we care about a 360-degree infinity pool? What is it about this story that, right? It's obviously a talking point. I saw it from 4 or 5 major news agencies. This honestly does not seem important or any sort of, like, who goddamn cares? People are building stuff all the time, but for some reason this is some front page news right now. And right, again, I sometimes I really think that I'm helping with this whole narrative building thing, because maybe this is another part of the plan, right? To get us all worked up and divided. The only thing I can see when I see this story is that, like, right, London has a huge problem. They're having a lot of it's rough over there in Brexit, and that whole thing is sort of collapsing apart. But at the same time, we're building infinity pools, for the ultra rich. It is sort of kind of James Bond shit right here. And it is IMPay. That's is it IMPay? He's the one he just died too, and he's the one that built the pyramid at the Louvre, which is obviously a big occult symbol, etc., etc. I mean, do you guys have an answer? Is this why is this front page international news? What is possibly so interesting about this? And this is from yesterday. This ties in more to my sort of like life extension, vampire, young blood sort of thing that was going on with all the pandemic, all that other stuff that I've been talking about. But you may have seen this one place or another, but it is theorized that Keanu is not mortal, basically, that he has some sort of massive, insane life extension. He's figured something out, And because, I guess I could look that up, but there's, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? This picture where he's like from 1530, and it's like, yeah, that is straight up Keanu Reeves right there in 1875. And even while he's been famous, he has aged basically zero. He grew a little Reeves, he grew a little facial hair, but other than that, he seems to look exactly the same. And we get a lot of like, this guy is sad, he doesn't have a lot of friends. And just how he has trouble making connections, but he's also a mega A-lister, but there's also very little actually known about his personal life because, well, that would make sense if he's already lived multiple lives since the 1500s. Then that would make you sort of full of ennui and like very Keanu, the way he is. Like this, you think he's an idiot until you realize like there's something weird with this guy, something going on. And again, it's always more ideological stuff. They shoehorn in that story about what's it called? Mount Everest being extra crowded and how people are just so stupid with trying to get to the right place. And this is how we should be behaving as a celebrity. Being humble and looking to that. So. I think we should just skip now. I mean, my whole timing thing is confused with my intro now. Is it been 33 minutes? I don't think it has been 33 minutes. And definitely a spiritual guy. There is just something very curious about this man. You'll have to look at some interviews of him. He was just on some late night talking about the nature of reality and death and how hard it is to make connections and how he doesn't have any friends. And all of that seems to tie together pretty nicely. So but I'm just going to jump over here. Let us get into a little bit of entertainment before we get to the main event here. Is this going to be cut?
Between East and West.
No, too risky to show Blood and Treasure. I didn't cut that clip, so that's on me, guys. But I do want to show you these clips from what's it called, Bold Type, which again, I a lot of this stuff is truly unwatchable. There is some real just rancid trash level TV out there because there is just so much TV.
It's just the time. I gotta work tomorrow. Fuck you.
Oh man, but that's my. What am I doing? I gotta get more organized, guys. Come on. That's my Black Mirror clips. I feel like they're right here. Is this the Bold Type clip?
Letter from the party. Too.
Nope.
Kill
Nope. See, that's why I try to get organized before. It doesn't always go according to plan. But that's okay. That's okay with you guys, right? What's up, Raymond, Rip Curl? Man, it is so cool to have the Fugal people, and it's going beyond that. It's almost like a post Fugal age. Am I Billy Zane? I'm definitely. If I was Billy Zane, I would not admit to being Billy Zane. But I appreciate that because I think Billy Zane is pretty funny, actually. I do appreciate that. So thank you. I'm just going to skip. Let's get to the next section, guys. That's my whole debate now. I think I should still start the 33 mark from the third, right? But then there's an intro, so it's not going to look 33 directly on the elapsed time timer. It's going to be a different time there. But still, I may just be playing a game. But I think it's numbers are important, man. I the more I think about it, the more important I think it is. And Woke and SoCal, I would definitely love to take callers. I think that would be just insanely fun, and all you guys are welcome to call in, because that was sort of the idea. We would get past half an hour, and I would just give me my spiel, give me my deal, and then we could get into an actual discussion, right? Because this is not some low informed chat here. We got some serious heavy hitters going down here. So if you know what I mean.
How about we use virtual reality?
This is virtual reality. How do you know?
Virtual reality is? And virtual reality displays show our geneticists the gaps in the DNA sequence. Oh, reality vision.
So, virtual reality.
So, I mean, I honestly don't think it's going to be news to anybody that virtual reality is a concept, and a concept that's gone back quite some time, right? This is nothing honestly new. I'd have to look up and see what the first initial sort of sci-fi iteration is of virtual reality. But at this point, it is definitely saturating us very heavily. And I'll be the first to admit, I was totally buying it for a while. I had a Vive, the whole thing. They say it in this show. You'll get clips of it where they say it's going to blow your mind. If anybody out there has put on an Oculus or a Vive and sort of experience that true depth of field that it's capable of, it is genuinely mind-blowing, because you put on this headset and it really does give you a sense of space, like you are in some other world, right? If you get the audio dialed in well, it can be very immersive. Just our computers are not quite there yet. This is again what 5G is going to be key for VR, because we're going to need much higher resolutions, much higher data throughput numbers, and 5G is going to be the only way to solve that problem. But just as a little groundwork, 5G is not new. 5G is, what am I saying? Virtual reality is not new. That goes way back. Do you remember that show VR5? That one goes way back. That's a deep cut for you TV fans out there. But this is Black Mirror. Before I get in the clips, just for due diligence's sake, Black Mirror, I believe, was started by the BBC or some other British company, and then got purchased by Netflix, and it is now definitely one of their flagship shows. It is every episode is a different. Yeah, Scott Rogers knows what's up. VR5. I really like that show. Black Mirror, yeah, this is in its 5th season, and if you don't know the premise, it's generally, the kind of stuff we talk about here, terrifying future scenarios that may or may not be on their way in some version or another. And every episode's about an hour, and they're all different scenarios, different storylines, and all with a sort of a very serious question about what the future holds and brings. And what they do it and a fantastic job of is showing the ennui and just the general disconnected darkness that is seeming to come for us day by day in the future, where this technology is going to do everything but bring us together. It's through its amazing recreation of reality, it's going to create a reality that is better than anything that we can imagine. And this is going to make people very spaced out and unhappy when they're not in one of these heightened experiences. And that's in a lot of these episodes. But I would encourage you, if you're a truther or interested in anything of that level, a lot of people say boycott TV, but I say go and, soak up your propaganda receptors with this stuff, because I think it will bring you some clarity if you already have a certain amount of awareness among yourself. So that is the basic thing. Definitely go and check out some of that. But let's get into the actual. This aired last night, right? That's all. I'm always trying to keep it up to date So this one is all, like I said, so what was it called? Striking Vipers. It's all about virtual reality. So I think the clips show it pretty well.
It's just the time. I gotta work tomorrow. Fuck your work.
So these guys used to be friends, right? That is a clip from apparently 11 years ago. Again, 11, very important.
Come on. Hate the damn thing. Flip the fuck out. Blew my mind. And stick it upside the head. Left or right side? Doesn't matter. You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. One. Crazy.
Danny!
Carl?
And honestly, right, as a video game child, this looks goddamn sweet. Like I want to play virtual reality with haptic feedback and this whole thing, and you don't really need any sort of setup. You just need to attach this little thing onto your brainstem. And again, in the theme of just all television being the same actual show and overlapping in some way, this is probably the 100th time that I've seen truly immersive virtual reality represented by this little circle that gets attached to your temple, right? Because that's going to be the closest, quickest way to get through the blood-brain barrier. It's going to be able to pass signals back and forth between your brain powers. And, definitely 5G is going to be key in getting all this working. It obviously must already be a real thing because I've just seen it represented this way so often. And here's just, from last night, literally just one more to add to the list. And this would be the basic concept, right? You have your PS4, you have some other, maybe Oculus or some other system, but you get this upgrade, you plug it in, and all of a sudden, it's truly next level. And for any of the skeptics out there, yeah, I would encourage you to demo some sort of virtual reality if you haven't tried a Vive or an Oculus. You get that feeling right away that this is obviously where everything's headed. This is where the future is gonna be, and it's gonna blow your mind. Just as a short side note, right? These are two old buddies, but we noticed that one of them has a purple background. Very, very powerful purple background there in the background for it. The one that is, well, I'll just give it away. They fall in love, basically. They start playing this fighting game, and it's fighting, and it's fun for a while. But then it turns out that this game is just, so hyper realistic and well programmed that, and anatomically correct, that they basically just start having virtual sex with each other. A couple minutes after this scene, after they get done punching and getting a little riled up, then it gets very steamy, right? And that again breaks into this whole issue of transgendering, blending of the sexes, which is again another just big movement that is going forward. And a big question already on the table for stuff like, Waking Life and other virtual reality situations. Some people do feel much more comfortable in a different body. They don't enjoy their body, and they would really rather, if it's only just for a small amount of time, be able to set themselves in a different mode, right? And this is all supposed to be coincidence, right? He just randomly picks the girl, and the other guy picks the guy, and they just get really hyper attracted to each other. And I don't know if you saw in the grid there, I believe those are hexagons. Let's see if I can get the frame. Can I get this frame? Can we get this frame? I really want to show you some hexagons because I feel like I haven't shown you some in a while. And my whole thing is like, dude, there's hexagons everywhere. But there really are. And it has to do with force fields and shields and barriers a lot, right? So when he gets hit extra hard, we see the hexagon shield coming around him. Just more randomness. But this is just, you see what they're trying to do here, right? Obviously, get you primed for all these concepts, but at the same time, also giving you a heads up that it's going to be kind of dark and sad, and that you're gonna lose a big piece of your humanity in exchange, right? Because a lot of the scenes that I'm not showing, it's about their relationships with their non-virtual partners completely fall apart. he loses all sexual interest in his wife, and the purple guy's a player, and he loses all interest chasing down girls, and they're stuck having this confusing conversation about, are we gay? Are we not gay? Do I want to be a woman? What is actually happening here?
Last time we played, I was drunk, man, from the party. You too? Cool.
Cool, right? They try to play it off like, they didn't really mean it, and then the relationship just sort of extends and gets worse and worse, and or better and better, because apparently they're just having awesome virtual sex all the time. But it comes at this huge price, right? Of undermining and destroying everything that is based in reality, but how addictive it is, and how both of them really can't seem to turn away once they've felt this power.
Hello? Can't do it anymore. It's not fair to Thea. It's not real. It's porn. You know it ain't right. I gotta think of Thea. We don't have to completely cut it off. We're the first Sunday of each month. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
I'm sorry, goodbye. The first Sunday of each month, right? They're bargaining, they're planning, and right, as with all content and entertainment, they're laying down moral standards and ideas for us, and you're supposed to, think about what the character would do, and then think about what you would do in that scenario, and often the right choice is laid out very clearly for you, what you're supposed to be choosing. And as we're wrapping up this episode, it ends up ruining all of their relationships. It erodes everything, and they get to the end and they realize, well, maybe we should just do it once a month, because we can't stop thinking about each other, and it's going to be the only way to salvage our real life and our real relationship. And that's how the episode ends. That, like, yeah, it's actually probably for the best to have a virtual partner, because at least then you won't be cheating out in the real world, right? And while we're on that subject, this is key to all this virtual reality stuff. Once virtual reality really becomes this powerful, and you can genuinely have a fulfilling sexual interaction with another human being through this, whatever this device is, right? That is just gonna plummet birth rates at that point. That will be the best form of birth control that anybody has ever invented. Once you can, honestly, you know what I'm talking about, not just some sort of video that you passively watch. If you can truly have a fulfilling, and don't think it's going to be cheap, but a fulfilling sexual experience through your home device, then yeah, no need for condoms and all of that. They're going to have no problem slimming down on that population. That pesky 7 billion population that we are dealing with these days. So those are my main points. If anybody has any other observations, I am happy to hear them. I am happy to be here with you. Just looking at the sky, just looking at some TV shows. It's nothing too crazy, right? Blue and gray. Virtual reality. What do we do? And it really is true, Brian. Everything is contaminated. It honestly is. It's all just sort of contaminated. But I almost think that you got to go along with it, because to a certain degree, because if you try to protect yourself too much from the reality out there, you won't be strong enough to handle this new 5G network. Your body won't be able to handle being bathed in just the absurd amount of radiation that is already here and that is coming. I'd like to tell a story, not right now, but where I moved away from America for many years, and there was sort of a honeymoon phase there, but after my initial release, I got very, very sick for very, very long, many years actually. And now in hindsight, I'm wondering if it had something to do with just the insane amount of environmental toxicity that is in this country, and how, right, when you're detoxing, when you're going through withdrawal, that's when the pain comes. That's when you have tough times. And so, honestly, now in hindsight, I think it was sort of some sort of electromagnetic environmental toxicity withdrawal. So there you go. I told the story, even though I said it wasn't. It is so great to have you guys. Snafu Snaps, Homegrown, Joe Hogan, Illogical Kitty, The Badger Report. We're building a little family going on here, It's not like Marf's channel. It's not like Snafu's channel. It's my channel. But I think we can all sort of hang out together and have channels together. That's not too psychopathic, it seems. And we're stronger together, Not now that this thing is past 1,000. Hopefully I can get some randos to come up. But at this point, it really has been a bunch of grassroots people telling other people, oh, you should go check this guy out. Calling in the Marf show. Other people sending them my way, which I appreciate every single one of those subs, because I know that was hard fought. It wasn't automatic, so I appreciate it.
Good night. Good Brian night. Good Cranky Beans night. Good Joe Hogan night. Good Scotty Barker night. Good Woken SoCal night.